All right, we're about to take on a massive story. 5,000 years of history, all the way from one of the world's first ever cities to its largest democracy. And look, this isn't just some old story about India. It's really about constant reinvention. A story that has shaped the lives of what? Over 1 billion people today.
So the big question is, how on earth do you tell a story that's 5,000 years long in just a few minutes? Well, you can't cover everything, that's for sure. The trick is to focus on the moments that changed everything.
So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to look at these huge transformations, these pivot points where the whole course of history just shifted. And our journey, well, it begins at the very, very dawn of civilization. All right, Section 1, Ancient Foundations. We're heading way back. I mean, deep into antiquity, to some of the earliest civilizations known to humankind. And this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. We're talking about the very foundations of society on the subcontinent. Okay, so first up, the Indus Valley civilization. Now, I want you to picture this: meticulously planned cities with advanced, roadside drainage systems, and this was built almost 4,500 years ago. I mean, their engineering was centuries ahead of its time. But here's the crazy part. We still can't read their script. It's a total mystery, a silent testament to this incredible world we're only just starting to piece together. And, to put that into perspective, these amazing cities didn't just pop up out of nowhere. They rose out of millions of years of human presence on the subcontinent, all the way from the Stone Age through the Copper Age. So when we talk about ancient history here, we're really talking about one of the oldest continuous stories of civilization anywhere on Earth. It's kind of mind-boggling. So after the Indus Valley civilization eventually declined, a whole new transformation gets underway. This is the Vedic period. We see new groups, the Indo-Aryans, migrating into the region. And this is a huge deal because it's during this era that the Vedas, the foundational scriptures of Hinduism, were actually composed. And there's another crucial shift. The center of civilization moves, heading eastward into the super fertile Gangetic Plain. And that sets the stage for everything to come. So with that move into the heartland of India, we enter the Classical Age. And this era, it was defined by these huge unifying empires and just an explosion of new ideas and philosophies that would go on to shape Asia for centuries. You really have two titans that define this age. First, you've got the Mauryan Empire. They were the first to unify most of the subcontinent, and they gave us Emperor Ashoka, who famously went from being this brutal conqueror to spreading Buddhism. Then, centuries later, you get the Gupta Empire, which brought in a totally different kind of golden age. This one was all about science and culture. We're talking major advancements, like giving the world the concept of the number 0, plus incredible art and literature. But, this era wasn't just about emperors and armies. At the same time, there was this profound spiritual questioning going on. You have ideas like karma and reincarnation, which are central to the Upanishads, really taking deep root. You've got whole new paths to enlightenment emerging, like Buddhism and Jainism. And, of course, the great Sanskrit epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, were written, weaving these incredible stories that honestly still shape the cultural fabric of India today. All right, let's jump forward to our next big transformation, the medieval period. This is when India becomes a true crossroads of the world. You have all these new arrivals bringing new ideas, new tech, new faiths, and it all leads to this incredible cultural fusion. So you get the arrival of the Delhi Sultanate, and then later, the mighty Mughal Empire. And with them come these powerful Turco-Persian influences that sweep across the subcontinent. But here's the key thing. This wasn't just a conquest. It was more like an integration. India became this central hub in the huge trade and cultural networks of the wider Islamic world, connecting it all the way from Central Asia to the Middle East. And the result of all this? A stunning Indo-Muslim synthesis that literally touched every part of life. I mean, you can see it in the architecture, think of the Taj Mahal, you can hear it in new forms of music, you can read it in the language of Urdu, which was basically born from this cultural blend. This fusion completely and permanently reshaped the identity of northern India. And all this incredible cultural richness, well, it was fueled by some serious wealth. Get this, at its absolute peak, Mughal India was an economic giant. It controlled nearly a quarter, 24.4%, of the entire world economy. Just let that sink in for a sec. But, as the powerful Mughal Empire started to decline, a new power was arriving on the scene. And this one didn't come over land like the others. It came by sea. And this, of course, marks our next huge transformation, the shift from Indian empires to European colonial rule.
So here's kind of how it all went down. The British arrival started out as just trade, not conquest. But the East India Company, bit by bit, turned from a business into a political powerhouse. After some key military victories and then a massive, widespread rebellion in 1857, the British Crown stepped in, took over completely, dissolved the company, and established direct rule. And just like that, the British Raj had begun.
Now, the legacy of the Raj is, well, it's deeply complex. It's a really mixed bag. On one hand, yeah, they created a unified political framework, built these huge railway networks, and set up modern institutions. But on the other hand, their policies led to a massive drain of wealth from India, the destruction of local industries, and a series of absolutely devastating famines. And it's that very complex legacy that directly fueled the final and maybe the most dramatic transformation in our entire story. The long, tough struggle for freedom, and the birth of a modern, independent India.
And I don't think any words capture the feeling of that moment better than these. They were spoken by India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, right on the eve of independence. And really, it was the culmination of a movement that had been going on for nearly a century.
The movement was spearheaded by the Indian National Congress, and under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, they adopted this revolutionary strategy called satyagraha. It basically means nonviolent civil disobedience. And this idea, it mobilized millions of ordinary Indians using moral force, not weapons, to demand self-rule. But that freedom, it came at a terrible, terrible price, because the British decided to partition the subcontinent, splitting it into two nations, India and Pakistan. This single decision uprooted an estimated 12 million people. Just think about that number. It was one of the largest, most chaotic mass migrations in all of human history. And in the chaos of that migration, just horrific sectarian violence erupted. It led to the deaths of at least 500,000 people. It was a deeply, deeply traumatic birth for both of these new nations. And yet, out of that fire, modern India was forged. On August 15th, 1947, the country finally achieved its independence. A few years later, in 1950, it adopted a constitution establishing itself as a secular, sovereign republic. And that single act made it, and keeps it to this day, the largest democracy on the entire planet. So from the Indus Valley all the way to the Information Age, India's story is really one of absorbing new ideas and just reinventing itself time and time again. It's a civilization that's really defined by its resilience. So as it navigates all the challenges of the 21st century, we're left with one final question for you to think about. What will India's next great transformation be?